The offseason is well underway, and we here at Locked On NHL Game Night are tackling the toughest questions with our favorite local reporters.
Tonight, we head out to Anaheim and check in on the Ducks, a team trying to fly together again.
A new head coach, a new identity.
We'll answer that question and so much more as we welcome Ducks expert Kyle Kjer on this summer edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night, Summer Edition, Season Preview. I'm Cam Stuart, a sad Boston Bruins fan, still on the third coast for only a little while longer.
Not even the summer can make Cam happy. It saddens me. I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, but currently loving life in Austin, Texas. Cam, this is fun. This has been fun. It will get more fun tonight because look who we got on the show. Kyle Kjer.
Woohoo!
Turn that key, rev that engine. It is time to drive on the West Coast.
We're getting started over here.
That was the best Kyle could come up with to answer that pun. He's heard them a time or two in his life. This is going to be a fascinating one. I think the Anaheim Ducks are one of the most fascinating teams going into the league this year. Kyle, I know you've heard all about it. Like this is the next team, right? Like to make that jump from lottery to postseason. You've got the young pieces. You've made some trades that some might be seen as shrewd. You bring in a new head coach. We'll talk about the big swing of the top 10 draft pick and what needs to happen for this Ducks team to get there. But first and foremost, Kyle, I think the big addition of the offseason was not Mitch Marner. That did not happen.
But not Gordon Bombay.
Not Gordon Bombay.
Nope.
Although he did. Although the Ducks,
we had Charlie Conway
draft picks. Yeah, it was great. That's great. But Joel Quenneville, the second all-time winningest coach in NHL history, three-time Stanley Cup champion, comes to Anaheim. And if that were the whole story with Joel Quenneville, there would be parades in the streets in Orange County. But that is not the whole story. As we know, he's not been in the league for a couple of years after that controversy in Chicago that led to his firing in Florida. So, Kyle, let's just take the temperature here. Like, what was that like for Ducks fans when the news came in? What is it like now? Thoughts around this fan base and this team in the appointment of Joel Quenneville?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Glad to join you. And it's not worth winning if you can't win big. And that was what Verbeek decided to go with by bringing in Joel Quenneville. At first, when it was first kind of rumored that he was talking to him, there was not a lot of happy people, even across our own network here at Locked On. People are like, they're crazy to hire him if they do. Fans were not too happy. It seemed like a lot of the people out there that know the actual events of what happened and why Joel Quenneville's been out of the league, they weren't here for it and him coming back to the league already, at least not as a head coach of one of the top 32 teams in the world, but rather maybe have him become a junior coach and work his way back up, whatever. But he's here. And I think once they had that press conference, it did kind of douse some of the flames, hearing all the people that he worked with, all the programs he's been doing, basically since day one of him getting let go of the NHL. He stepped in. His kids pretty much forced him into getting into these classes and everything. Like, Dad, you got to go do it. It's a new age. You got to figure out what you did wrong. And I think that was a big thing, is he didn't understand what he did wrong at the time. And now he has a lot more awareness. He knows that he's got to ask more questions as a head coach. He's got to be more involved, and that there's all these advocacy programs out there. And it sounds like that's where a lot of the focus for this year is going to be off the ice, is getting involved with victim advocacy programs and really trying to make a better, healthier culture in Anaheim beyond the ice. And I think that's going to be paying dividends for the team, because not only are they going to have a strong communicative coach They're going to have a strong communicative coach. That's the second most winning coach in the league. So kind of some positives there. And honestly, the rumblings mostly have died. You'll see a tweet every once in a while, someone kind of throwing shade at like, oh yeah, remember our coach kind of got fired for this big event. But overall, I think the focus is now just on what are we doing with our players.
Kyle, look, Joel Quenneville is not the first coach in professional college, high school sports that has made a significant blunder, has messed up. Look, I'm in Austin, Texas. I covered Steve Sarkisian for a couple years. Steve Sarkisian, connection to Orange County, USC for a little bit. He faced his alcoholism head on, and now it's part of his identity, and he shares those mistakes with his players at Texas. No one's perfect. People still make comments on social media. That's what social media is for. It's not for actual
saint on social media, you know.
I'm so glad we didn't bring up the college football team that I cover. But let's just get back. Let's get back to Tyler.
My point of bringing up Steve Sarkisian is what I found in covering that team for a couple years was Steve Sarkisian using his mistakes and being so transparent about those mistakes with his team only built a stronger team and created an environment that allows for that communication, Kyle, that you were talking about. So with that in mind, do you think that Joel Quenneville was the right hire for the Ducks? If not, who else would you have considered in being a good hire for this Anaheim team?
Well, I think it was the right hire. Honestly, when they announced that he was going to be able to be interviewed by teams again, I believe it was the offseason prior to that, when Edmonton picked up Bowman. And I was looking at the Ducks roster. I was looking at the way things are going. And this was before my time with Locked On. And I just remember being at like my beer league team, talking with my buddies. And I'm like, honestly, Quenneville would be a really good fit for Anaheim. Like, everything aside, it's the similar build makeup of the Chicago Blackhawks when he took them on the run. We've got this young, talented squad. They kind of need someone to come in and wrangle them in, but still be a positive voice. And once he got like announced, I was all for it for the on ice part of it. Like everything aside, I was really excited for him to be the potential head coach. But another voice that was way up there and was kind of on my radar was Jay Woodcroft. And I thought he would be a great voice out there. Well, guess what? They hired him, not as the head coach, but they brought him as an assistant coach. Like, the coaching staff right now for Anaheim is stacked. They brought in Jay Woodcroft, McGill, and Brewer as assistant coaches, and all three of them have had success everywhere they've gone. So not only are you going to have Quenneville's voice, like you said, who's going to be able to use his mistake and really create more of a personable locker room, you have three other major voices there.
Well, time out. I'm not saying he's going to do that. He has the opportunity to do that. I'm not sure what kind of leash, if you're the Ducks front office, that you give a guy like Joel Quenneville, but this is his shot. It's his opportunity, and he's got a young, talented team to make the most of it. I'm not saying he will be doing that. I'm saying he has the opportunity to do that, just to clarify. Sometimes these clips get taken out of hand, and I just want to make sure on Locked On that everyone's locked in on this specific conversation.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what he stated during his press conference, and every interview he's done since. He's mentioned, like, it's time to use my mistakes in a proper way and really, like, open the room up for the guys, make it a place where it's, you know, every coach says, oh, I got an open door policy, but it sounds like he's really trying to make it an open door policy where anything that's going wrong, you will not feel judged. It's, you know, lips are sealed. Come and share with me. Like, what's going on with you is important to me as your coach. So it just sounds like some good positive things, you know, positive parenting tips and everything is all going to be put into place for him with this younger squad.
And this is a young, exciting squad, and that Joel Quenneville appointment was supposed to be kind of the first in a line of big-time moves for the Ducks. We're going to talk about those. We'll also see if they got the steal of the draft at the end of June. That's coming up after this on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, today's episode of Locked On NHL Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or that high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more exciting, huh? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, my favorite teams, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Let me say that one more time. New customers bet just $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back here on Locked On NHL Game Night, the Ducks preview. I'm Cam Stuart, Tyler Feldman here. Kyle Kjer coming in to talk about these mighty Anaheim Ducks. We've talked about the Quenneville appointment. That was supposed to be kind of the first in this line, Kyle, with the cap space that the Ducks had, an abundance of young talent that they could throw out there, moving and shaking, shucking and jiving all summer long. And what we've got from that is Chris Kreider, Mikhail Granlund. You miss out on the Mitch Marner sweepstakes, which seemed like a late push, but also a very real push.
Really?
For Marner to go there? Yeah.
Really? Come on.
I think that was
State
real.
tax Vegas over there.
I think that was a real legit.
Come on.
It wasn't going to be 8 by 12. It was not going to be 8 by 12. So, Kyle, what have you thought about that? Pat Verbeek kind of talked a big game. Has it come through for you guys so far?
I get eaten alive for my view on this in my comments section, but honestly, I was not impressed with what's been going on with Verbeek. I don't think the one-off for Zegras to Mikhail Granlund is nearly worth the payout, especially with how things were going. I know we haven't really gotten into that trade yet, but with Trevor Zegras being out of the lineup now, you look at the numbers, you look at the production, and the way that Zegras created the people around him and pushed this team. I don't know if that's going to be able to be replaced with Mikhail Granlund. He's a good player, but I don't know. I think we kind of swung and maybe hit like a grounder by shortstop. We got on base, but nothing was a grand slam. Nothing was we didn't even get a double out there. So it seems like,
Kyle, this is a hockey podcast, right? Just
college football and baseball both represented.
We're the Locked On Sports Network.
The Ducks preview.
It was. It's been a little rough. But overall, I think with Chris Kreider coming in, obviously you're going to get a guy that knows how to pick up the junk. And that's one thing that drove me nuts about the Ducks the last couple of years. There was never any secondary scoring. It was always off the rush. And if it went well, maybe they'd get some possession time in the ozone and then end up scoring. But it always seemed like they were on the perimeter. No one was ever just in the danger area, getting in there, getting dirty, like the old Corey Perry worm moves of old. But this is someone that's going to be there, and he just seems to be in the right place at the right time and just knows how to pick up the trash and put it in the net. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to Kreider. Honestly, a little surprised because I thought that they were bringing him in not only for his skill set, but him and Trevor Zegras are best friends off the ice in the offseason. Really good buddies. They do a lot in the summer together. And so I'm like, all right, you're getting a veteran that knows how to wrangle in the antics of Zegras. This is going to be really good. You got Joel Quenneville, Zegras' idol, and then they push him off for a bottom six in Ryan Pelling and a couple of mid-draft picks. Just wasn't really impressed. However, after that draft, I did get to go see who the Ducks drafted in that spot. It was the 45th overall. His name's Eric Nilsson, and that kid is going to be someone to watch out for. He's a hungry player. When they did the little prospect development camp out here, he was one of the hardest workers out there. He looks like he's got something to prove. So it might pay off in the end. But yeah, the Ducks really haven't done what Verbeek said he was going to do. I don't see a top six scorer like a Mitch Marner on the team.
So
Nikolai
Kyle,
Ehlers was there. He didn't make it.
So Kyle, what do the Ducks need to do then with the rest of this offseason to go from 35 wins, 80 points, and outside looking in from the playoffs to possibly being more competitive and reaching the postseason next season?
I think the big thing that they need to do right now is get Mason McTavish locked up. That's someone they cannot afford to lose. There are so many teams out there, just like a bunch of coyotes waiting to jump on the prey, seeing what Verbeek does. And
so Kyle, just so you know, the Coyotes are no longer a team.
Oh,
in
wait,
the
what?
NHL.
Really?
Some more hockey history lessons here.
There was a team in Arizona? What?
I had a coyote.
I didn't mean it
following
like
us on
that.
a
I was
walk.
just kidding. Arizona, if you're watching, I was just joking, okay?
The Sun Devils are great. But yeah, it just seems like everyone's out there hunting for a second line center, and McTavish is the guy. And I think if you give him that confidence of locking him in, he's going to be that much better of a player. I see a lot in his projections going forward. When it comes to the top 6 forward group, it's not a bad forward group with Carlson, most likely Killorn, and Cutter Gauthier on that top line. And then you're looking at, hopefully, a Mason McTavish and Mikhail Granlund and Chris Kreider as the second line. That's a pretty solid top 6 right there. It's probably not what Verbeek was really trying to get, but I see an improvement to a point in that top 6 compared to last year. The biggest improvement, I think, is going to be that bottom 6, because they need to get rid of Ross Johnston. I'm sorry. He's had 2 points, I think, or maybe 3 in the last 2 years as a player. So just really not providing much. There's some kind of dead weight on the lineup still. If he can pull someone with what extra guys he's got and this pool of prospects that they have, I'd be intrigued to see what he does. But I think he kind of dug himself into this roster that he has now, and there's not a lot that can be done for this year. And I think his focus is going to be a lot more on next year, because pretty much half the roster are RFAs next year. And I think that's where a lot of his focus is right now.
And real quick here, Kyle, you've talked about the Kreider trade and the Zegras trade. Feels like there is a need for, or at least in Pat Verbeek's mind, a need to get past this kind of somewhat core of the last couple of years. You trade Zegras for pennies on the dollar. You finally make the move to send John Gibson away. What was the thoughts behind that move? And am I hitting it there with Pat Verbeek's thought of, like, obviously we want McTavish and some of these really young guys to stay, but we've got to cut with what we've been identified as the last few years?
Yeah, it really seems like Verbeek wants to make this roster his roster. He's kind of pushing the Bob Murray picks out and not really keeping any of that core around. Definitely putting more of his flavor on this team. Gibson, I felt like, was kind of, the writing was on the wall and time to go. Of course, I would have loved to have had Lukasz Dostal and John Gibson as a pair, but it seemed like Gibson was just not willing and ready to step down from the number 1 role and wanted to be that guy for a team. And Detroit was in the need, and it worked out. And at least they got a goaltender back in Peter Mrazek. He's not a bad name to have. And they have Ville Husso from the Red Wings from prior. So they've got some guys to back up Dostal, but Gibson was definitely a fan favorite, really good guy. He was always great for the fans. One of the only signed jerseys I have from Anaheim, and it's going to be different without him out there, but
well,
definitely
hold
miss
on.
him.
Real quickly, not to get too emotional here, and Kyle, I wish I was there to support you in this moment. Peter Mrazek did great work in Carolina, and I covered Mrazek and the Canes when I was working in North Carolina. Great goaltender. I don't know if he's going to solve all your problems, but he is a guy that is serviceable. When it comes to John Gibson, he wanted out. He was kind of tired of what was going on in Anaheim. There were multiple reports, stories of John Gibson wanting to go elsewhere. So now he has that chance. He's off to Detroit. I think that's a good situation for both parties. I say this played a few years of amateur hockey with John Gibson. And so playing with him,
Subtle flex.
A little bit of a subtle flex, but at the same time, when you're playing AAA travel hockey in Pittsburgh and John Gibson's your goaltender for 3 years, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this guy's really good, but it never crosses your mind at that age that he's going to be what he became. And so for me, I've always rooted for John Gibson for obvious reasons, but I'm happy for him, even though I'm sad for you, Kyle, because him and the Ducks just kind of went together, and I wish he had more success and the team had more success with him between the pipes. It just never came to fruition.
Yeah, and he got to get that taste of playoff experience at the beginning of his career and did fairly well in the postseason, and then it just teetered out, and you got to give the guy the credit. Like, he stuck it out through the worst of Anaheim we've seen and was getting lit up every night, save after save, like multiple 30, 40 save nights. And clearly, like, everyone blamed, oh, look, he's injury riddled. Yeah, because the dude's getting like 500 shots against him a game. You're gonna have injuries, like, that's gonna happen. But I'm excited for him. I think Detroit's going to be a good landing spot for him, and it's going to be really scary on Halloween seeing him in that jersey here in Anaheim, as that's when they play the Red Wings at home. But it's good stuff for him. But for the team, kind of just have to wipe your tears and send your kid off to college. So we're all looking forward to him having some success at least.
It'll be some spooky hours on Halloween when he comes back. Speaking of which, spooky hours was basically the medical report on Roger McQueen this year. So did the Ducks take the biggest risk to get the biggest payoff at number 10 overall in this year's NHL draft? Kyle Kjer has the answer for us next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
Welcome back to this summer edition of Locked On NHL Game Night. Cam Stuart, Kyle Kjer joining the party. I'm Tyler Feldman. Kyle, Roger McQueen, and I'm not talking about that fast car from the Cars movie. Okay, similar name. Does he have the similarities on the ice right now? For me, looking at the Anaheim Ducks, it's a little bit ironic, isn't it, that a duck on water is flapping its feet very quickly and trying to look calm above the water. And right now, I feel like the Ducks are doing a lot of work beneath the water that no one's seen, and hoping to deliver that calmness to the ice to have more success. Is Roger McQueen the player that can maybe allow these Ducks to not work so hard underneath the surface?
Well, you know, are you working hard under the desk right now? I think your feet might be cooking pretty good.
Hey, Kyle, don't worry about what I'm doing.
What does that insinuate?
Okay?
Yeah,
don't worry about my beneath the desk. This is a chest up show, so we'll keep it there, okay?
Well, looking at Roger McQueen, honestly, I was so stoked that he landed in the Ducks' lap. Like, I felt everything was pointing to Roger McQueen becoming an Anaheim Duck. All the marketing pieces aside, the big thing that caught me was during the combine, the player he recognized his play around was Ryan Getzlaf. And Ryan Getzlaf was an absolute staple for Anaheim for 15 years. He's the guy. He's just the representation of what like good Ducks hockey looks like. Was Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry in their prime. And the kid is super tall. He was also out there at the development camp, and he's looking good. You can see why he says he targets his game around Ryan Getzlaf, and that's kind of the play style he emulates. He was toe dragging guys. He was putting a clinic on Beckett Seneca, who's been lighting up the OHL. So he was looking good, and obviously, he got the green light from the doctors. That's one thing Pat Verbeek was really certain, was to talk with medical staff, see like where is this injury going to land him? And he really plans on taking his time with developing the player and making sure that the back is healed and not just throwing him into the big leagues with the potential of that back injury, really just letting him heal. And clearly the body of work that he had with that injury was enough to land him the spot that he did. And from what I heard during the draft, a lot of teams were actually trying to draft up above that 10 spot because they knew Roger McQueen was not going past Anaheim.
Does it worry you at all that it's the back, though, Kyle?
I mean,
the backs they don't usually get better with age.
True. Being a Marine, I know all about back problems. They do not go away. But I don't think it was a career-altering injury. I don't think it's one of those back issues that's going to completely derail him as a player. I think with the proper rehab, and it's really up to him, like he's got to put in that extra work to get the back working and to really make sure it's not affecting his game. And that was a big thing that was said about him, is he's got the drive, he has the know-how and the determination to apply the right things and make sure he does it, because he's hungry enough to come out and be part of the Anaheim Ducks. And you could just see it in his body language, in the way that he presents himself since getting drafted to the team. He was all smiles. He's been a super charismatic guy to the fans already. Pick number 95 as his number, or like, so just going with the Lightning McQueen path already. Gets helicoptered out to Disneyland and gets complete VIP treatment. And then you see Radim Mertka, who went to Buffalo, and he just looks depressed and not too excited. So, one pick, who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I think it looked a little concerning, but I think he's going to end up being a massive steal from this draft class.
And looking at just kind of all of this in total, Kyle, we've talked about prospects, we talked about a new coach, we talked about, free agent signings, what you would like to do. All that to say, the rest of the NHL is looking at the Ducks and saying, this is a young team with so much upside. Like, this should be a year where they're knocking on the door of the postseason. Like, it should be coming together here. Did the Ducks get better? Did they get closer to the playoffs in this offseason?
I want to say they got better, but marginally. I don't think it was the massive improvement that was promised or talked about by Verbeek. I think there was movement made in the right direction, but I don't think it's going to be this big jump quite yet. I think it's going to be a slow burn process, and they're eventually going to be breaking through into the playoffs, but I'm not looking to have my hopes up for this season being that season. I think they're going to develop under Quenneville. They're going to get used to his system, and players are going to make a jump, but it's not going to be all of a sudden, they're going up against Edmonton in the playoffs and trying to give them a run for their money. And if they do somehow break into the playoffs, I think they're going to be a one and out type team. Like, don't expect much in regards to that, because they still need to get that size. I think that was a big thing that pushed Zegras out as well, was his size. And looking at the playoffs and how physical they were, I don't think Verbeek was really on board with Zegras being the guy that can go out there and grind it out, with a Matthew Tkachuk and really put the body on the line. So that's where I think the Ducks really need to get their taste, is the physical part, and really earning every single minute, every single game, as if it's the last game of the year. So that's one thing that's going to have to change. And I think it's going to take a season or two for that to really click.
Whatever you say, Kyle, I'm clipping this part of our show right now when Roger McQueen and the Anaheim Ducks are lifting Lord Stanley. This next June. I'm clipping this so I can repost it for all your fans on social media.
That'll be good. If I could be wrong about that, that would be absolutely great. But I think they still got the work cut out for them, and I would love to see them all show up and push in that direction. But just like the sun that decided to come shining through my thing, the sun is shining out here on the team,
Sun
but
are
it's
coming
only
through, man.
little cracks here. Little cracks are coming through, not the full big sun on them.
Man,
Kyle,
Tyler
you-
really thought he won the podcast with the duck thing, and then you pulled out the beam of light there.
I'm about
Kyle.
to, I'm
This
about to
is
shut
tough.
off right now. I'm
This
goodbye.
is
Goodbye.
this is a difficult
Goodbye.
it's a difficult one today for Tyler.
Kyle may have been wrong on this podcast tonight, but you know what was right? Having Kyle on this podcast.
Oh,
Thank
thank you.
This was fun.
Absolutely. You guys are great. I love the energy, and I'm glad you guys are here. So it's been nice change of pace out here in the Locked On Network.
And it's
Kyle, do you
always
know what I
growing.
love? Kyle, do you know what I love about you? The sun that's shining on your face right now. So
My urge to shut my blinds is killing me right now because it just started ripping through and I can feel it.
Oh man, nothing but sunshine around the Anaheim Ducks in
Yeah.
Southern California. Man.
The price we pay living in Orange County. It's
tough life.
That's one of the
Yeah.
prices for sure. The price, there's quite a few. Anyway, let us know what you guys think about this Ducks team. Where do you see them going this year? And who are you most excited to watch in those beautiful, somewhat still new uniforms? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. A lot more of you are not subscribed than the ones that are subscribed. So if you're loving the content, find us
Shame.
here.
Shame.
yeah.
Honestly, can we
Shame.
get some more of that?
Seriously.
Can we get some more of that?
Get it
Like
together,
and
guys.
subscribe. Find us on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast as well. That's where you can find Kyle Kjer and Locked On Anaheim Ducks as well. For Tyler Feldman, I'm Cam Stuart. We will see you on the next season preview edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.